orders kept rushing by without noticing me. I feared I would never be able to order. The scene that had just taken place over by the table was playing on repeat in my head. "Oh, Christ!" I exclaimed to myself. How horribly embarrassing it all was. I was so preoccupied with my shame that I hardly noticed the person coming up behind me. My mind registered the presence of a body fairly close to mine, but I just assumed it to be another poor bastard who would wait here forever to be served. I leaned closer to the counter, when all of a sudden 2 arms snaked around my shoulders, and a pair of hands were placed on the counter, either side of mine. 2 large hands, with long, slim fingers. Someone leaned in really close and whispered in my ear. "Handporn, you say?" There was no mistaking who those hands and that voice belonged to. I started blabbering away nervously, my head facing the rows of bottles on the wall behind the bar, and my eyes still sneakily looking down at his hands. "Mr. Miller, sir, I am so sorry. I was way out of line back there. It's so embarrassing. I don't know how I can ever apologize for my inappropriate behavior. I am so... Paul, please. And enough with the apologizing. You truly have nothing to be ashamed of." He cut me short, his smooth voice whispering straight into my ear. I felt shivers all the way up and down my spine. "Paul, really, I am..." "Stop it." Once again he interrupted my ramblings. "What you said back there was out of line, I know. Quite the opposite. I found it all very flattering." He leaned even closer, his lips practically touching my earlobe. "And a bit of a turn-on, to be honest with you." I jerked my head around and stared at him. "Eleanor, right?" he asked. Dumbfounded, I nodded. The fact that he had noticed, registered, and remembered my name was rather mind-blowing. "Well, Eleanor, what about another drink?" Once again, I nodded before turning around to try, probably in vain, to catch the attention of one of the bartenders. Paul, was I really supposed to call this absolute god of a man by his first name? Didn't move an inch away from me. He just stood there, arms still around me, hands still placed flat on the counter. "What shall I order then?" I asked hesitantly. "Whatever you're having. You obviously have great taste." He was teasing me now. It was becoming blatantly clear to me that he would not let what had just happened over by the table go. "Fine. 2 can play that game." "Tortuga cocktails, then. But beware, Paul, they make you say the silliest things," I said, sounding far more confident than I felt. "Do they now?" "They do, Paul, as you very well know after overhearing, or should I say eavesdropping on, our conversation back there. My, oh my, Mary Eleanor Parker, don't you sound cocky, I thought to myself, and then smiled at the word cock. Silly cow. "So handporn, you say?" he said. "Yeah. And you would let me do pretty much anything to you with my hands." Another slow, affirmative nod of my head was all I could muster. "Interesting. Very interesting," he mused. I didn't know what to say, so I just stared over at the bartender, who seemed to ignore me completely. Paul slowly lifted his left hand, and with his slim index finger drew an invisible line from my wrist up to the crook of my arm. All the hairs on my body immediately stood straight, and the skin where he had drawn his little trail went prickly. Something like that, maybe. Or like this. He moved his hand up to my cheek and tenderly stroked it, took my earlobe between his thumb and index finger, and slowly caressed it. I was rooted to the ground where I stood. Couldn't move a muscle.